Which book should a depressed person absolutely have to read? A Street Cat Named Bob from James Bowen. It's an autobiography from a drug addict who gets clean with the help of a cat he had adopted. I met James and Bob last week at a national pet convention near where I live. All other pets had to be secured to make sure there were no escapees or flights. But Bob was allowed to chill on his pillow as he was so relaxed and well-behaved. With the help of a cat he had adopted. Bob the cat adopted him. It's one of the most magical things about the story. Picked up one of his books at my favorite used bookshop on a lark one day. Read it, and loved it. When I was done, and going to file it into my collection, I noticed it was signed by James and Bob. The little cat paw print is beyond cute. Also, check out Peter Gether's books about his cat, Norton. Anyone who loved reading about Bob will probably love reading about Norton. Furiously Happy or Let's Pretend This Never Happened by Jenny Lawson. Got me through bouts of terrible depression and a miscarriage. Edit. Holy shit, guys. Thank you for all the love. Jenny Lawson is amazing. Let's Pretend This Never Happened I felt like was much lighter and quirky, but Furiously Happy was so much deeper. I love how it was quirky still, but also like, oh, okay, this isn't like she's being cute quirky. This is like she's fighting some serious stuff quirky. It made me really respect how open she was being about all the parts of her struggle. I'm really sorry about your miscarriage and your depression. I hope you're feeling better these days. The way that it sounds like a self-help book, but it actually isn't. And how she declares that at the start of it makes it even better of a read. She also runs a blog called The Bloggess, which has some posts that are featured in the books, and is running a bookshop called Nowhere Bookshop. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, just a month's thoughts on how to better himself. Never meant for publication. The first chapter, where he thanks his father, mother, and mentors, is mind-blowing to me. We are all inspired by so many and are never truly alone. It's amazing how well Marcus put that into words. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all the others. Take a minute to be thankful for what you have and the PPL that helped you get there. I read this in Dumbledore's voice because he played Marcus Aurelius in Gladiator. Hyperbole and a half. Hilarious and personal. One of the few books that have made me laugh out loud as well as cry. Came here to say this. This book helped me realize that I was depressed and that treatment might actually work. Which it eventually did. Definitely a powerful book. I'm glad it helped you out. Me too. I read it and realized I understood and felt most everything that author did, and it helped make me take the steps to get help. My life has been improved so much since picking up that book. Start a long series. If you get hooked on it, it gives you something to look forward to. A lifeline to hold when things get rough. Stormlight Archive is good too. Life Before Death, Strength Before Weakness, Journey Before Destination. The most important step a man can take is not the first one, it is the next one. Guards by Terry Pratchett is a fantasy satire. Think Douglas Adams. That is very funny and thought-provoking. The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson is a fantasy epic about broken people doing great things. Any of Terry Pratchett's books. His death character is amazing and always manages to make me laugh. Yes, Death, the character, is great. Also, Rincewind made me feel not terrible about myself, and it was nice. I know many people dislike his arc, but I've always enjoyed it. I have this speech by Death about belief in Hogfather bookmarked. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. It helped me a bit, and most people I know who've read it. Viktor E. Frankl is a psychologist who endured a concentration camp as a Jewish prisoner. He observed what kept people alive and what didn't and used his experience to launch his own psychotherapeutic approach called logotherapy, which focused on meaning. He applied his own theories to his life in the concentration camp, writing his book while he was there. The first half is biographical. The second half is his theories and practice for them. Depression and how to help deal with it in a way similar to cognitive behavioral therapy. This is one of my favorite books. TLDR, hope and faith are choices, but choices that have power. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. A really nice book for developing a solid foundation for dealing with problems. A few years ago, I was laid off with no job prospects and couldn't bear being in Seattle for another winter. Packed all my stuff into a room at my folks'. Took a bus with my bike to Vancouver and rode down to Mexico. Carried this book with me and read it by flashlight in my tent with the rain beating down on me. It was soothing. I dunno. Not a happy book, but I think it calmed a piece of my soul. I read this book while living in a tent after my life imploded. Very helpful. To be fair, I could have afforded motels. I only camped because to me that's part of the bike touring experience. It's 4 years later now, and I own a house, a dog, and have a solid job at a workplace I enjoy. My personal life's still a mess, but overall, I'm in a much better place. Good Omens. It's been my favorite book for around 25 years now, and it never fails to make me smile. It's hilarious, yes, but there's a quiet charm and encouragement that reminds you that as hopeless as things may feel, they will get better. The Amazon Prime miniseries is really good too. Yeah, they did an excellent job on it. Really nailed everything that made the book so endearing. I felt let down by the exclusion of the other four horsemen. They were my favorite. Hitchhiker's Guide helped me. Just an absurdist take on humanity that helps undercut any overwhelming negative thoughts I can't shake. This book got me through an incredibly hard time in my life. Reading it in the hospital beside my dad. Thanks Douglas Adams. It's an easy lateral move over to the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. Very similar senses of humor. Discworld is just the fantasy to the HHGG sci-fi. Edit. New Terry Pratchett. R. Discworld. I've been wanting to start this series even though I know almost nothing about it. Just heard good things. For an uplifting story for both young readers and adults that takes the person on a journey from darkness into light. The Secret Garden. Frances Hodgson Burnett. I came here to recommend A Little Princess by the same author. It will renew your will to live. This is true, and it's a journey for all three characters from a life-changing event to establishing a new life. It's another one of my favorite reads. Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. I read Steppenwolf by Hesse when I was having a depressive episode when I was 16. It remains my favorite book of all time. Hesse is a brilliant writer and reading his work is so cathartic. I actually came to this thread to say Steppenwolf. It's a great meditation on identity and choice. It's great for depression because it reminds us that just being who we are is a choice, and one we can change. Slaughterhouse-Five. Seriously, Kurt Vonnegut got me through some rough times emotionally. He has a dark, wry sense of humor but ultimately a heart of gold beneath that really makes you feel like you're not alone, that other people out there think like you and have been through the same things. Most things by Vonnegut, he had such a darkly hilarious sense of humor in his stories. That sounds very interesting. I second Slaughterhouse-Five. It's one of my favorites. War and Peace. I'm not joking. There's something about that work that just murders depression. I think it's the way it covers the full spectrum of human experience. You know Tolstoy's working title for that was War, What Is It Good For? I'll truly just watched this episode first time watching Seinfeld in so many years. Hilarious. I second War and Peace. I have listened to it as an audiobook. Have read it. But it's definitely one of the best books for books in my life. And on the contrary to the common belief, those books are really not hard to read. You just need to push through the beginning of the first book. But after that is extremely engaging and interesting and enlightening on so many levels.
Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.